So let's resume watching the video that we were watching yesterday. So I'll play it again. So watch it carefully. Moksh, please confirm that the voice is audible to you. Is it audible?
And thousands were jailed. When it became clear that all means of peaceful negotiation had been exhausted, Mandela went underground to lead the armed struggle.
We have made it very clear in our policy that South Africa is a country of many races. There is room for all the various races in this country. There are many people who feel that it is useless and futile for us to continue talking peace and non-violence against a government whose reply is only savage attacks on an unarmed and defenseless people.
Key government installations were targeted for sabotage. Mandela became known as the Black Pimpernel. In 1962, Mandela was captured, charged with leaving the country illegally, and sentenced to imprisonment for 5 years. Shortly afterwards, his ANC comrades were captured with evidence which incriminated Mandela. He returned to court for the Rivonia trial, where he and 8 others faced a possible death penalty.
The very speech which was made by Nelson consolidated the spirit of the people outside, because it was a defiant spirit.
I have fought against white domination, and I have fought against black domination. I have cherished the idea of a democratic and free society in which all nations live together in harmony and with equal opportunity. It is an ideal which I hope to live for and to achieve. But if needs be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die.
When Nelson Mandela and several of his colleagues were sentenced to life imprisonment in 1964, the political convicts were sent to Robben Island, the Bleak Island prison of the Western Cape Coast. Nelson Mandela was 45 years old when he became prisoner number 466 of 1964. He would be in his early 70s before he would again be a free man. Forced to perform futile hard labor in a lime quarry, the prisoners refused to be broken. Far from being diminished, Mandela's moral leadership and stature continued to grow while he was in prison. His young wife, Winnie, continued to be an inspiration to the struggle.
That day is not far when it shall lead you to freedom.
Amanda! Away to power to the people. But the struggle against apartheid would continue for another quarter century. While Nelson Mandela and his co-accused served life sentences on Robben Island, other leaders of all races and in all spheres campaigned for change. Many faced imprisonment or exile. And around the world, ordinary people showed their horror of apartheid and their support for the struggle.
The purpose, friends, of this boycott is for the people of Britain to register on the widest possible scale their passionate protest against an evil and repulsive doctrine which says that a man's legal status, a man's political rights, a man's economic opportunities, a man's social position shall depend solely upon the color of his skin.
But in 1976, Soweto school children marched in protest, and townships around the country erupted in violence. It was the beginning of the end for apartheid, but the struggle dragged on for more than a decade as the African nationalist government clung to power.
I believe and fight. Don't push us too far.
In the late 1980s, amid a tide of world pressure, the South African government was forced to accept the inevitable and began dismantling apartheid. In 1990, at the age of 71, Mandela was released unconditionally.
I stand here before you, not as a prophet, but as a humble servant of you, the people. I place the remaining years of my life in your hands.
After leading negotiations for a new South Africa, Nelson Mandela cast his vote in the first free and democratic elections and became the country's first black president.
Never, never, and never again shall it be that this beautiful love will again experience the oppression of one or another.
For the duration of his presidential term, and throughout what should have been a well-earned retirement, he has worked tirelessly to entrench the ideals he has so long stood for, becoming universally revered as an icon of leadership and humanity.
When I told one of my advisors a few months ago that I wanted to retire, he growled at me. Quote, "You are retired." If that is really the case, then I should say, I now announce that I'm retiring from retirement.
But in his retirement from retirement, Nelson Mandela has continued to give his support and generosity in countless ways, creating an enduring legacy through the Nelson Mandela Foundation, the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund, the Mandela Rose Foundation, the Nelson Mandela Institute for Education and Rural Development, and the 46664 campaign. Through 46664, he continues to lend the full force of his extraordinary talent, intellect, and heart to a problem that faces not only his own country, but the world at large. Nelson Mandela, Madiba, we salute you. Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela.
सुनिए नहीं कुछ
सुना ही नहीं कुछ आपने कुछ विजुअल देखा उस पर कुछ बता सकते हो what you saw in the video if you were unable to listen to the video at least you observed
The
some
flag of South Africa.
flag of South Africa. What else did you observe?
once Nelson Mandela said I retired from retirement.
Yes, Mandela said I retired from the retirement. That was a funny amusement, you can say funny incident that he shared, that how, because he was elected president at the age where people actually retire from their job, right? So what we have seen, that a journey, a difficult, arduous journey of all the freedom fighters. What similarity did you find between Gandhi and Nelson Mandela?
They both struggled for the freedom of the country.
Okay, anything else?
You both use the weapon of non-violence.
Yes, they both used the weapon of non-violence. They inspired people. They made them self-reliant. They, we can say, helped people in realizing, creating that awakening among people that why freedom was important, why they needed to be free. And what else we observed? We observed the oppression, how the people of Africa, they were subdued by the whites. They were discriminated on the basis of their skin color. You, if you were able to hear that the speech given by a white, how he said that it was important for a peaceful neighborhood that the whites and blacks, they should live separately. But this is not a statement that should be made by such kind of politicians, right? And we see that how the blacks, they suffered there, the native Africans, they suffered, how they were stripped of their rights, they were starving in poverty, they were subjugated, discriminated, they were deprived of all the privileges, the luxuries, the rights that they had. They were forced to live in slavery, they were forced to live in poverty. And for many years, whites practiced the policy of racial discrimination in South Africa. So we see that how, just like in India, we also witnessed the freedom struggle. South Africa also rose to that struggle. Nelson Mandela, he also played an important part in creating that awakening among people. Nelson Mandela, just like Gandhi, he also adopted the path of, we can say, non-violence, because Nelson Mandela, he was also inspired by Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi also stayed in Africa for a long period of time. How, if you remember a train incident, that how Mahatma Gandhi, he was thrown out of the first class compartment because he was an Indian. He was a black. He was considered as black from there. And from there, Mahatma Gandhi also started the struggle, the journey of struggle, journey to freedom. He came back to India and he fought for the country. And Nelson Mandela also fought for his own country. So what we see that how South Africa is a country blessed with a plenty, we can say, of natural resources, including fertile farmlands, unique mineral resources. South African mines are world leaders in the production of diamonds and gold, as well as strategic metals such as platinum. A country which was rich in resources is still rich in resources. How this country was actually exploited by the whites. In 1948, this racial discrimination was institutionalized in South Africa. The race laws touched every aspect of social life, including a prohibition of marriage between non-whites and whites, and sanctioning of white-only jobs. How the white people, they were only provided the luxury, the privilege, the jobs, and the native Africans who were considered as blacks, they were exploited, they were forced to live in slavery, in poverty. So what exactly is the system of apartheid? The political system in which human beings are treated differently based on the color of their skin. And for years, the whites, they practiced the policy of racial discrimination and stripped the native blacks of their rights. Nelson Mandela, he believed and said that no one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin or his background or his religion. People learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. For love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. See the thinking of this great personality, how he believed that he can also make the whites love the blacks. He believed that how people can be taught to love, people can be taught to forget about the hatred, and thus he kept on fighting for his people there. So Mandela, he served as president of South Africa from 1994 to 1999. He got this position after spending 30 years in prison. It's a long period of time. He spent there, but he kept on fighting against the legacy of apartheid while staying in the prison as well. And then he was released unconditionally, and he was chosen as South Africa's first black chief executive and the first elected in a democratic election. He became the first black president of South Africa. So we are going to read about Nelson Mandela, his long walk to freedom. He calls his journey as a long walk to freedom, and that's why he wrote about this journey in his autobiography. The chapter that we are going to read today, Nelson Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom, it's an autobiography written by him. Autobiography क्या होती है? Life story written by the person himself. When he talks about his own life, that is named as an autobiography. And when someone writes about other person, that becomes a biography. Okay? So through this chapter, what we are actually going to learn. Long Walk to Freedom. The lesson, it is an autobiography that reveals the important events in the life of Nelson Mandela. It's a saga of the glorious, arduous, difficult journey of the heroes and the patriots who waged a relentless struggle against the apartheid or the racist regime of South Africa. Regime कहते हैं, the rule of South Africa. How it was dominated by the whites. Here we also find a description of the inauguration ceremony where Mandela gives a message of peace and unity of mankind. What is this inauguration ceremony? This is the swearing in ceremony of Nelson Mandela as the president of South Africa. Right? So let's start with the reading of the chapter, and let me just share the PDF with you. Just give me a second. Yeah. So this we have already read in the slide, that apartheid is a political system that separates people according to their race, right? So now we know about Nelson Mandela. We have watched the video and we have collected a lot of information about him, that how he spent a lifetime fighting against apartheid. He had spent 30 years in prison. Finally, democratic elections were held in South Africa in 1994, and Mandela became the first black president of a new nation, right? So this is an extract which is taken from his biography. long walk to freedom. So he talks about a historic occasion, the inauguration. So what is this inauguration? It is the swearing in ceremony of Nelson Mandela as the president. So brief information is given here. Let's read this also. Mandela becomes South Africa's first black president. Nelson Mandela has become South Africa's first black president after more than 3 centuries of white rule. Mr. Mandela's African National Congress, the ANC party, won 250 of the 400 seats in the first democratic elections of South Africa's history. So previously, earlier, it used to be a dictatorship of the whites. And then after a long struggle, democratic elections were held and Mandela, his party won 252 seats out of the 400 seats which were there competing in the election. The inauguration ceremony took place in the Union Building Amphitheatre in Pretoria, today attended by politicians and dignitaries from more than 140 countries around the world. Now, in the last part of the video, you might have seen a building, right? And a building had a semicircular area made, and that part is the amphitheater. Amphitheater कहते हैं a place which is open where people gather and they do the meetings and all that. So that is an amphitheater, right? So in the building, Union Building of Pretoria, this swearing in ceremony was held. Never again will this beautiful land experience the oppression of one by another. So this was the speech. It's a brief sentence taken from his speech when Nelson Mandela said that never again this beautiful land, he is referring to the land of South Africa, experience the oppression. Oppression कहते हैं the exploitation, how the people, they were subdued, they were forced to live the life of misery. This oppression will be experienced by the people of South Africa. It will never be experienced again. So this is what he said in his address to the public. So jubilant scenes on the streets of Pretoria followed the ceremony with blacks, whites, coloreds celebrating together. Colored means people of all races from all countries had gathered there together. More than 1 lakh South African men, women, and children of all races sang and danced with joy. So in the video, you have seen how they were brutally tortured, how they were beaten, how they were jailed. So they had to bear all those atrocities, the cruelties done by the whites there, the supreme party that was leading there. And then it was the time people were jubilant, they were happy in the streets, they were singing, they were dancing, they were enjoying their freedom that day. Now, this is a column which is given in your book chapter. I want you to do this in your homework, right? You will match these meanings with the words given towards the right side. Okay, students? So this is going to be your homework. So let's start with the chapter. 10th May, dawned bright and clear. Dawned means began, bright and clear. Why bright and clear? It was a morning full of hope. And the morning, it was light. Clear sunshine was there, and this morning was full of hope, and that day was 10th of May. For the past few days, I had been pleasantly besieged by dignitaries and world leaders who were coming to pay their respect before the inauguration. So who is I here? I is Nelson Mandela. And what is the meaning of besieged here? It means to be surrounded closely by. So he was surrounded by the dignitaries, the world leaders who were coming to pay respect to this great leader before the inauguration, before the swearing in ceremony of Nelson Mandela. So they all have come to greet him, wish him good luck, wish him the best of luck in future, and thus they were gathered there. The inauguration would be the largest gathering ever of international leaders on South African soil. And this was going to be a great event, this ceremony of the swearing in of the president, and it was going to be witnessed by large number of people, and also the largest gathering of ever. That is, all the international leaders also came back to South African soil. Now, why this reference is important? Because of this rule of apartheid, many countries, they just severed their relationship with South Africa. उन्होंने अपने सारे रिश्ते तोड़ लिए थे साउथ अफ्रीका से because of the dominance that was there by the whites. So iski wajah se unhone apne rishte tod liye the, and they had stopped coming to Africa, South Africa. They stopped dealing with the African leaders and the rulers. So it was a great moment where all the leaders, even the international leaders, have gathered to attend the inauguration ceremony there that day. The ceremonies took place in a lovely sandstone amphitheater formed by the Union Building in Pretoria. So this ceremony, it was going to take place in a huge building of Pretoria. So this building was made of sandstone. Now, क्या आप बता सकते हो आप में से कोई कि हमारे इंडिया में कौन कौन सी ऐसी बिल्डिंग्स हैं जो सैंडस्टोन से बनी हुई हैं? Can you name some? आप में से किसी को पता है? If anybody can unmute and tell.
Red Fort.
Oh, very good.
Red Fort.
Or
Red Fort.
the Rashtrapati Bhavan and Supreme Court as well. These buildings are made of sandstone. So this amphitheater, this building, the Union Building in Pretoria, it was also made of sandstone. For decades, this had been the seat of white supremacy, the seat of white dominance, which was ruled by the Americans there. So decade hota hai period of 10 years. That means for nearly over few decades, this had been the seat. This refers to the Union Building in Pretoria. It had been the seat of white supremacy. The dominance, the whites, they ruled from this building. And now it was the site of a rainbow gathering of different colors and nations for the installation of South Africa's first democratic non-racial government. See the use of the expression here, the phrase, a rainbow gathering. So now all people from every race, culture, society and country, they all had gathered there in that building, because earlier the people, the blacks especially, they were not allowed to enter the Union Building in Pretoria. They were not allowed to enter the official buildings. आपने वीडियो में भी देखा होगा, वहां लिखा था ना पार्क्स में फॉर व्हाइट्स ओनली, मूवी थिएटर्स में व्हाइट्स ओनली, बिल्डिंग्स में. So these Africans, they were not allowed in any of these kind of buildings. But that day, it was a rainbow gathering. Different colors and nationalities, they were there. And they all had gathered. Why? For the installation of a government which was democratic, which was non-racial. So उस दिन एक ऐसी सरकार की नींव रखी जानी थी जिसमें कोई भेदभाव नहीं था, जहां सब इक्वल थे. और इसलिए लोग दूसरी देशों से भी लोग आए थे, इंटरनेशनल लीडर्स मौजूद थे, बहुत बड़ी गैदरिंग थी वहां पर टू विटनेस दिस सेरेमनी. So on that lovely autumn day, I was accompanied by my daughter Zinani. Now आप बोलोगे मैम यहाँ पर तो डेट 10th मई लिखी है, how it can be autumn. Now अगर आप थोड़ा सा ज्योग्राफी की नजरिए से देखो, साउथ अफ्रीका जो है कहाँ पड़ता है? सदर्न हेमिस्फीयर में पड़ता है, राइट? और नॉर्दर्न हेमिस्फीयर में मई मंथ में समर्स चल रहे होते हैं, तो ऑब्वियस है कि सदर्न हेमिस्फीयर में ऑपोजिट सीजन होगा. और इस वजह से in South Africa during the May month, which season prevails? It is the autumn season. Okay, so that's why the president, he writes in his biography about lovely autumn day. So hope it is clear कि वहाँ summer क्यों नहीं है. So it was the autumn season going on in South Africa, and he says I was accompanied by my daughter Zinani. On the podium, Mr. D. Clark was first sworn in as second deputy president. So when the swearing in ceremony started, Nelson Mandela, he was also accompanied by his daughter whose name is Zinani. And then on the podium refers to a round platform. उस platform पर सबसे पहले किसने शपथ ग्रहण की? Swearing ceremony होती है शपथ ग्रहण करने की. It was Mr. D. Clark who was sworn in as second deputy president. Then Thabo Mbeki was sworn in as first deputy president. So Thabo, यहाँ see the name, M is silent here. ठीक है, आपने इसे Mbeki नहीं पढ़ना, it's Becky. So Thabo Mbeki was sworn in and he was taking the position of first deputy president. When it was my turn, I pledged to obey and uphold the Constitution and to devote myself to the well-being of the Republic and its people. It was a great day for everyone. And Nelson Mandela, he adds that how I pledged, मैंने शपथ ली, that how I will obey and uphold. Uphold means follow the Constitution, maintain the dignity of the Constitution and devote myself. मैं अपनी पूरी जिंदगी किस लिए व्यतीत करूंगा? For the well-being of the Republic and its people. इस देश के लोगों की well-being के लिए I will devote myself. So let's stop here today because of the time restriction, as the session is going to get over. So we'll meet next on Monday, and I want you to complete the matching, match the following column given in the second page, that is page number 17. That is your homework. Try to get the meaning, if you can guess what is the meaning of those phrases. And then after reading the chapter, we will check the answers, whether you guess the meanings correctly or not. Okay, students, so have a nice day. Thank you all.